Now that we know that this person has already gone inside the stronghold, I am going back inside to inform the one that gave out the mission. Immediately after saying that, Daniel left the group inside the mansion that was owned by the mercenary group, and headed in the direction of the stronghold. After arriving at the entrance of the stronghold, he was not prevented from entering. The people that were there had already gotten used to Daniel. After all, during the past 3 years, he had always been coming to the stronghold. Although they were not sure about whom he worked for, but still, there was a person whose identity they did not know, who came forward and claimed that they were supposed to allow him to enter. Daniel did not waste time and headed towards the villa. The villa itself was located close to the outskirts of the stronghold. This part of the stronghold was a little distance away from the organizations that were located in this part of the stronghold. After arriving there, he entered the villa as usual. His information had already been registered by the security of the villa, so, the moment that he placed his hand on the security fingerprint scanner, the door opened without much of a trouble. After entering the inside, he decided to wait. It was a pity that he did not have a method of contacting the person that had given him the mission. It was just that, every time, he was always called over, and he had never been given the chance of calling them. So, currently, all that he could do was to hope that while he was inside here, the person that gave him the mission was going to come over. Additionally, while coming over, he did not come over sneakily, rather, he walked in the open. On the other side, Jack and his group decided to spend the day resting for a while. They did not go anywhere else inside the stronghold, but instead, they remained inside the building that they had just purchased. Jack was having a plan. He was going to make sure that he got resources that he was going to utilize to complete his end of the deal with the Shadow organization, and more than that, he was expecting to utilize the system to improve the income. Currently, the only method that he could utilize to get money was to open up a business. Of course, there was another method, and that was to contribute during a battle. But, there were no battles that were being fought right now. For that reason, Jack had no choice but to do what he had done when he left Crystal City. At that time, he had left Crystal City intending to start a business, hoping that it would grow in the future, giving him a chance to compete against the Alfonso family. But, he had never expected that he was going to get the 100 times income multiplier system after his first sale. That was how things changed. And now, since he was in a new domain, without much connections, he had no choice but to start from below. Currently, although he was a superhuman, his influence inside the stronghold was not known, considering that the people that knew that he was a superhuman were those from the Panthers organization. But of course, only Sylvia knew that he was a superhuman. As for the rest, they knew that Celine was a superhuman. For the store, Jack decided that he was going to sell the products that could only be found inside the stronghold. It was just that he did not have what was required to start it: star coins. To be able to acquire star coins, one needed to depend on the organizations that were present inside the stronghold, or perhaps sell what they had. But so far, Jack did not have much that he could sell. Still, although he did not have the star coins, that did not mean that others did not have. So, since Samantha possessed star coins, he was going to borrow from her. Although she was currently his subordinate through the contract, that did not imply that she had to give him everything that she possessed. Star coins, this is the currency that was utilized here inside the stronghold. But, it was like a virtual currency, rather than physical like the dollars that were used outside. So, during the time that Samantha was purchasing the building that they were in, she had transferred the star coins using the communication device that she possessed. "Samantha, how many star coins do you have currently?" Jack asked as he looked at Samantha. They were currently on the top floor's living room. "I have a total of 269,567 star coins," Samantha replied. She could immediately guess the reason why Jack had asked that question. Although she did not understand the reason why Jack did not possess the currency that was utilized inside the stronghold domain, she was not unwilling to give him whatever she possessed. At the end of the day, since she had already left the Butterfly organization, that implied that she would have to depend on Jack for her future development. Right now, paying with the star coins that she possessed was not a problem at all. This could be considered as investment that she was making right now. Jack nodded. Although he was not sure about the value of the items that he wanted to sell, and whether the money that Samantha possessed was enough, but still, they would have to try. "With that amount of money, is it possible for us to start a small store? We will be selling several items, but we will be selling them at a lower price," Jack asked calmly. He had already thought of this before he even came to the stronghold domain. Initially, he had been planning to use the Panthers organization in order to gain a foothold inside the stronghold domain. But it turned out that there was just a misunderstanding between the two sides. Sylvia was the leader of the Panthers organization, and although she was looking for his mother, she did not intend to utilize the means that Anthony utilized. So, there was no need for him to go ahead and trouble her, considering that currently, she could be said to be the one that was expecting his mother to pay up. Since that was the case, he had no choice but to start everything from scratch. Although in the normal world he was currently a behemoth, but inside here, although he had the strength, his influence was not as much as the strength that he possessed. It should be possible. It is just that, we can buy a very small store. Although I'm talking about buying, it is simply purchasing the items that are inside the store, and renting the store itself, rather than purchasing it, Samantha acknowledged before explaining further. Jack immediately understood what she was implying. For them to be able to get this building, it was a little difficult. Inside the stronghold, the land was limited, so to get a building to live in was kind of a little problematic. That's okay with me. We can start with that. I think by next week, as long as the business works out, we should be able to upgrade a little. Jack nodded. That was all that he needed. With the system, his income was going to be multiplied by 100 times. So, even if the income from a small store was small, it did not matter to him. Can you help me in making those arrangements? After you get it, inform me about it, Jack stated. Okay. Samantha nodded. Then, she got to her feet, prepared to go out. Denali also got to her feet and decided to follow Samantha. Recently, after they had entered the stronghold, she felt a little useless. She was supposed to be Jack's personal assistant. But surprisingly, this time, there was nothing that she could do at all. She did not know how things worked out inside the stronghold domain. So, she still had to learn a little more, before being capable of going back to doing things like how she used to do before. Samantha had no qualms with going out with Denali. She knew that the role that Denali played was kind of bigger than hers. Moreover, currently, Denali was stronger than her. If the two of them went out together, then, their safety might be as much as guaranteed. Inside the stronghold, the use of the laser weapons was prohibited, unless there was an enemy that had the intention to kill others. So, when it came to physical capabilities, did not really was way above Samantha. As the two ladies left, Celine looked at Jack and asked, "What are you going to do now? Don't tell me that you are planning to become a small store manager inside the stronghold domain?" "That is exactly my plan. I am intending to start a small store, before improving it, little by little. I want to be able to easily influence the entire stronghold from the shadows, rather than using the strength that I possess." Jack responded positively. Currently, inside the stronghold domain, he did not know many things. But he knew one thing: there were a lot of people that were stronger than he was. So, unless necessary, he was unwilling to cause or look for trouble. He wanted to utilize this business to be able to acquire the resources that he wanted, the ones that he was going to distribute to the Shadow Organization. And other than that, he was also intending to try and study as many things as possible, while at the same time, strengthening themselves. Huh? Are you serious? Celine's eyes widened in disbelief as she looked at Jack. She was wondering if this guy was messing around with her. Of course I'm serious about this. What do you think? You know, currently, I don't have money. So, I had no choice but to borrow from Samantha. Since that is the amount of money that we have, we can only start from below. Jack replied as he pinched Celine's cheek. He found the expression that was on her face quite cute, and he could not resist it. "Pa." Celine slapped away the hand that was pinching her cheek. It was not that she did not like it like that, but she just found it a little irritating that Jack was joking around with her when she was talking about something serious. "I'm serious, Jack. You know, you said that you wanted to look for Mother, so, for us to be able to do that, we are supposed to be making big moves. So, how does starting a small store help us in that?" Celine put forward her confusion. Of course, other than the curiosity about the stronghold domain, the other reason was to look for Jack's mother. She referred to Anne as mother, because the two of them had already gotten engaged. As for the matter of marriage, that was something that they were going to decide on their own. But at least, she knew that the marriage between them was not going to happen anytime soon. After all, there were a lot of things that they still needed to take care of. "Huh? You should at least learn to trust your husband a little, right?" Jack looked at Celine helplessly as he stated. "Who's my husband? As long as I can remember, I have never gotten married anyway," Celine snorted as she responded. "Of course, you are not the one that got married, rather, your heart was the one that was married away. So, even if you don't remember getting married, just to know that you have already gotten married to me," Jack teased Celine again. Celine on the other hand was getting even more frustrated. After all, she had just decided to talk about something important, but it did not seem like Jack was taking the matter seriously at all. Had she not known who Jack was, she would have definitely thought that he did not care about his mother. But that was definitely an impossibility. Jack's childhood life was quite tragic, only experiencing the love of his mother. As for his father, that bastard never cared about him. Instead, he ignored him together with his mother. Still, Celine could not help but wonder just how love was. After all, according to the clues that they had gotten until now, Anne was a superhuman. If she really wanted, she could have easily dealt with the Alfonso family. But in the end, she continued staying there simply because she loved Dalton, a person who was not even an ordinary human. Love could sometimes make some people idiots. But of course, Celine was not complaining about this. After all, had it not been that Anne got together with Dalton during the time that she was still in university, then Jack would have not been born. Then, who was she supposed to be with currently? Can you stop changing the topic? I am talking about opening the store. How does opening this to help us in finding mother? Celine asked again. It was clear that she was unwilling to let go of the topic, unless Jack gave her the answer that she was seeking. You might not understand this, but still, I do believe that you can get an idea about it. You see, the ability that you currently possess is what we are going to utilize. Although we are going to start the store from beneath, we are going to study many things, and try to implement several other things, creating new things that we are going to sell in that store. In the future, the store is going to be big, and that is how we are going to rise inside the stronghold domain. Jack replied after realizing that Celine really wanted the answer to that question that she had asked. Celine found logic in what he had said. But still, although the two of them were capable of learning how to do things at a speed that was 100 times faster than before, but to be able to do something like learning how to make equipment and so on, that was something that was going to take a long time. More than that, they needed to get resources that they were going to use to make the equipment. Additionally, there was also the information that they needed access to, before being able to learn what they wanted to know. In the future, how far away is that future? Celine asked after a moment to contemplation. Perhaps a month or two. It should not be difficult for us to be able to rise to the top of the small strongholds. I believe that in a month or two, we should be able to move to the big strongholds. Jack responded. I think you should take a look at. Celine looked at Jack, not sure if she was supposed to believe what he had said or not. But, the trust that she had in him did not allow her to doubt him that much. So, in the end, she leaned into his embrace and said, whatever it is, just make sure that we do it faster. I want to see mother after a long period of time. Jack stroked Celine's back and assured her. Don't worry about that. It is quite simple for me to be able to raise to the top of the entire stronghold domain. And of course, I will not be alone, I will be together with you. You are not planning on abandoning me, right? Celine giggled a little at that. Then, she hits Jack's chest a little as she stated, if I abandon you, then whom am I supposed to be with? Who is going to provide for me? You know, I will continue depending on you. Jack smiled at that. Of course, he currently knew that Celine did not know about the presence of the system. With the system, his income was going to be multiplied by 100 times. So, although he had not told her about it, rather, informing her that they were going to use the other ability that he had revealed to her, still, both methods were going to work. That was how he had started back in Azima. He started in Inchoate City, before finally developing into someone who had already monopolized 5 industries in the entire country. Moreover, if he really wished to, he could have easily spread his influence to the neighboring countries. Samantha and Denali went around chatting as they looked for a store that they wanted to rent. They wanted to take the entire store, together with the items inside. Of course, there were several shops and stores that were present inside the stronghold. It was just that, whatever it was that they were selling, they could not match those that were found inside the stronghold. It was also true that the people found inside here, the top forces inside this stronghold were the organizations that were present here, but that did not imply that there were other people that did not join any force. Of course, although they were independent of the organizations that controlled the entire stronghold, but they still followed all the rules that were set inside the stronghold. It was these small groups of people that had managed to start up the small stores. They had to look for a method that they were going to use to get even more star coins. They were selling the resources that they possessed, but were useless to them. In this way, they could gather funds that they could use to get the resources that they wanted. The two ladies walking together did not attract much attention towards them. Had they been back to the normal world, then, they would have obviously attracted the attention of many people. But inside the stronghold, it was completely different. There are many handsome men and beautiful women, so, it was not strange that there are handsome and beautiful people passing by in the streets. Currently, Samantha was no longer showing off the armor she was putting on. Although she had not taken off the armor that belonged to the butterfly organization, she was not going to display it. Inside such a small stronghold, a guardian was someone that was revered. So, if the people saw that there was actually a guardian that was strolling about, they would obviously attract their attention. Additionally, since she had already left the butterfly organization, the people from the butterfly organization were not going to allow her to continue using the armor and the reputation of the butterfly organization. Although Samantha did not understand the reason why the people from the butterfly organization had not come after her, but still, she had some guesses. It might be related to the leader of the butterfly organization. Currently, some other was wearing a trench coat that easily covered the armor that she was wearing beneath it. The two ladies did not take a long time to be able to get a store that matched the description of what Jack had stated, and was well within the budget in Samantha's mind. "Hello here, we would like to meet with the owner of the store," Samantha said as she looked at a young man in front of her. The young man looked at the newcomers with a frown on his face. It was not that he had never seen beauties like them, but he had never seen the beauties of their caliber coming to such a small store. Most of the time, people with the aura like the one that the two ladies possessed would always belong to certain organizations. So, it was strange that the two ladies had come over to a small store like the one that he was managing. Additionally, they came over looking for the owner of the store immediately. Although he did not expect that they were going to come over to purchase anything, but he did not see the reason why they were going to look for the owner. Just from the way that Samantha had spoken, it was clear that she did not know who the owner of this store was. Still, because he was not sure about the organization that the two ladies belonged to, he decided to be careful. "What is it that you want?" the young man asked. Although it was true that currently, Samantha was hiding the armor that she was wearing beneath the trench coat, but the shape of the armor could not be completely hidden. So, it was quite easy for the young man to be able to easily tell that Samantha was putting on an armor. As for the reason why she was hiding the armor, he was not sure about it. Nevertheless, he had to know the reason why they came over, before knowing what step he was going to take next. "We want to rent this shop of yours together with everything inside. We want to discuss the price as long as the owner is willing," Samantha stated. The young man on the other hand could not help but squint his eyes. Rent a shop? What was the reason behind that? People from the organizations were going to rent a small shop like this? This did not make any sense to him. Still, he responded, "I'm sorry, but I will have to inform you that this shop is not for renting or sale. It is a private property, so, you can forget about getting it," the young man responded. Although he was pissing people from an organization, of which he don't know, he was not that much afraid. After all the people that lived inside the stronghold were not simple, or were protected by the laws of the stronghold. So, unless he had done anything wrong, he believed that there was nobody that was going to take a drastic measure like killing him or something like that. After all, with all the organizations neck to neck on each other, they would definitely take any opportunity that was presented to them to attack the other. Samantha on the other hand did not like the response that she had gotten. Of course, she knew that it was going to be a little difficult for them to be able to rent a store. After all, why would a person give away his source of income? Although it might be true that they were going to be compensated as long as they agreed to give away the store, but still, the majority of the people were not willing to do that. That was unless they did not have any other choice because they needed money. "We are going to pay for that. And I don't believe that you are capable of making that decision if you are not the owner of this store. So, why don't you call over the owner of the store so that we can discuss the matter with him or her?" Denali spoke. When it came to the matters concerning business, she was more skilled as compared to Samantha. Although it might be true that Samantha was more informed about the strongholds, but the mindset of humans was not that much different when it came to business. After hearing what Denali had said, the young man showed dissatisfaction on his face. He looked at Denali and responded, "This is my father's store. And, I am his only son," implying that in the future, I am the one that is going to take over. So, there is no difference at all when I say that I am the owner of this store. Denali was just about to respond when suddenly, a voice reached them from within the store. "What is going on out there, Martin? Is there a problem with the customers?" The voice was that of an old man. Currently, they were at the entrance of the store, but the store had 2 rooms, one of which was used to serve the customers, and another one perhaps was used as a warehouse or resting quarters of the owner of the store. Immediately after the voice, an old man stepped out from the door that led to the back of the store. He was having a head full of gray hair, and wrinkles covered his face. According to estimation, his age should be in late 70s or early 80s. Currently, he was wearing a gray trouser, as well as a worn-out yellow shirt. It seemed that even in the stronghold, there are those that were regarded as the poor, and those that were regarded as the rich. It seemed that social division did not part ways with humans. The old man was a little surprised when he saw Denali and Samantha. But, he managed to regain his composure only after a moment. Then, he looked at his son, Martin, a young man with a bald head, an ordinary face, currently wearing a green short-sleeved t-shirt, and a pair of matching pants. The old man only glanced at Martin, before shifting his gaze back to Samantha and Denali. "I am the owner of this store. May I know what it is that you want to purchase? We have several serums, pellets, and other medicinal substances that can be used to improve a person's strength." The old man questioned as he looked at the two. Although he was not sure about the reason why they were here, but he decided to act like how a normal shopkeeper would. Anyway, why would people visit his store if they did not want to purchase something? "We are not here to purchase anything. Instead, we are here because we want to rent this store of yours together with everything inside. You can tell us the price so that we can see if we are going to take it or not," Denali stated. Along the way, Samantha had been informing her about a lot of things about the stronghold and the prices. So, although Samantha had not interacted that much with the people from the low side of the society, but she knew about one or two about the prices of the buildings and items that were sold outside of the organizations. The old man was not expecting that they came over to rent his store. Although he could easily tell that they were not here to purchase anything, but renting his store was definitely not within his expectation. At the end of the day, from the way that he could see them, it was clear that they were from a certain organization. And if that was the case, what was the reason for renting a small store like this one? It was not as if there was anything that could fancy them that they could not get from the organization that they belonged to. "Are you sure about this? Are you sure that you did not come to the wrong place or something?" the old man asked, just to make sure that what he had heard was right. "Of course. We have the intention to start a small business. We thought that this store of yours is quite suitable, so we decided to rent it. But that is on the premise that you agree to that," Denali responded. Currently, they did not hold any initiative, so they had no choice but to play low. The old man looked at the expression on Denali and Samantha's faces, and he saw that they were sincere. But still, he felt that there was something wrong. After all, why would people of their level, from the organizations that they belonged to, come over just to get a small store? Start a business? What was the reason for that? It was not as if there was something that they were going to gain from running a small business like this one, right? They were supposed to be training at a moment like this, ensuring that they became stronger, so that they could hold higher positions inside the organization. As if seeing through the old man's doubts, Denali spoke once again. "You don't have to worry much about the reason why we are taking the store. Other than the business that I have just mentioned, you can be assured that we don't have any other intention. Additionally, the only reason why we want to run a small business like this is because we want to experience a normal life. You know, we have always been training all this while, so we need to be away from all that for a moment so that our minds can relax." After hearing this, the old man was convinced. Although not thoroughly convinced, but he thought that what Denali said made sense. Most of the times, all the people that were born inside the stronghold usually wanted to practice and become strong warriors. But only a few of them managed to join good organizations. And even within the organizations, there are those that usually practice from time to time, making sure that they improved their strength to the maximum level. So, they did not have that much chances of enjoying their lives. So, it was not unreasonable for Denali and Samantha to come over because they wanted to experience how life it was without training. "But I am not ready to rent out the store. This is the only asset that I possess," the old man stated. Although he believed what they had said, he was not willing to give away the business that he had been running for several years now. "Don't be too fast to make a decision. Why don't you listen to our proposition first?" Denali stated when she realized that the old man did not seem to have any intention of renting the shop. Currently, they had already gone to several shops, but they had not found any that was qualified. It was not just a qualification in terms of the money that they were willing to spend, but also the location of the store. Denali wanted to get a store that was at a location that was good for business. So, that was why she had targeted this store. She was not willing to give up just after arriving. Additionally, this was a task that had been given to them, and she wanted to complete it. The old man wanted to refuse, but looking at the sincere expression that was on Denali's face, he could not help but give in for a moment. Okay. You can follow me in so that we can discuss this, but still, you have to know that I have not yet changed my mind about this matter. The old man stated with a sigh as he led the way into the store. Martin on the other hand looked at the two ladies entering the store, obviously not happy about it. He had actually been intending to test them away since they were not customers, but, since his father had already made the decision to invite them in, then, there was nothing but he could do. Martin was having the intention to follow the old man and the two ladies to where they were going to discuss the matter, but the old man glared at him. "Where are you going? If you follow me, who is going to sell the products here if a customer comes?" the old man asked with creased brows. Martin was of course aware of that. But, he was not willing to let his father be together with this group of strangers. What if they wanted to do something bad to his father? They might even kill him while he was not there. If the old man had already known what Martin was thinking about, he shook his head and said, "What are you going to do even if they want to kill me? It is not as if you are any stronger than I am. So, there's nothing that you can do if they have any ill intentions." Immediately after saying that, the old man led the way to the back of the shop, leaving behind Martin who had his teeth gritted and his fists clenched. He knew that what his father had said was true. Currently, he was not capable of joining any organization in the stronghold because they said that he had a low potential for development. That was something that frustrated him the most. It was just not, no matter how angry he was, there was nothing that he could do about it. He had been previously dreaming about joining an organization, before being able to change his father's life. But in the end, he only ended up as a burden to his father. He could not join any organization, so, he had to depend on his father to be able to train to reach the level that he was currently in. He was a 2-star ordinary human. Although it might be true that there were many 2-star ordinary humans present inside several organizations inside the stronghold, but, all of them had potential of going further. He on the other hand could not grow any stronger than he currently was. So, it was going to be considered a waste of resources if these organizations decided to take care of him, trying to train him to grow stronger. After they reached the back of the shop, Denali and Samantha realized that it was actually a room. There was a curtain that divided the place, with one side being the bedroom, and another one being the living room and kitchen. Denali and Samantha found that this was a strange. After all, according to how things looked, even if the income from the store was low, the old man and his son were supposed to be living a life that was way better than they were currently living. But surprisingly, they were living inside of the same shop. Inside this small room, they had all the necessities that were required for them to be able to live. The old man had already guessed what Denali and Samantha were thinking when they were looking around. But, he did not say anything to explain the reason why things were as they were currently. There was a single couch inside this room, and it could only accommodate 2 people. Other than that, there was also a stool that was usually used as the table. "Please have a seat," the old man stated as he pointed towards the couch. The couch was currently worn out, with some areas already patched, while others had the covers of the couch torn. Samantha and Denali were not polite at all. They went ahead and sat on the couch, while the old man took the stool, and sat on it. Then, he waited for Denali and Samantha to speak out the proposition that they had. "Just like we told you before, we want to take this store. We are going to rent it, and for the period of time that we are going to take it, we have not yet determined it. But still, it is going to be at least a month," Denali stated. The old man did not respond, and waited for Denali to continue. "We are going to give you a good offer. According to the market right now, this store of yours should be performing quite well. The location is good and so on. But, the market value of renting this store with everything inside them should be about 150,000 star coins," Denali continued. The old man did not retort to what Denali had said. After all, even he himself knew that the current market value of the store that he was owning was at 130,000 star coins. So, by Denali offering 150,000 star coins, it was obvious that she was offering 20,000 more. But still, the old man was not convinced. It was not like he wanted to give away the store. He was having his own reasons, the ones that he was not going to reveal. "Currently, the offer that we can give you is at 160,000 star coins. That should be more than 10,000 star coins higher than the market price," Denali continued. Of course, the high price was not for the store, rather, it was for the items inside the store. According to Samantha, after she had looked inside here, the items inside were not valued that high. Still, Denali was able to make some estimations about the value of the products. It was just that, she had estimated the price higher than the value of the items that was present. Even the old man knew about that, but still, he did not say anything. If the situation was normal, then, he would have already latched onto this chance. But, he did not actually have any other choice. Currently, he could not allow any other person to continue running this store, no matter what. What do you think of our proposition? The price is enough for a single month, right? Denali asked. The old man sighed. Of course, he was tempted by the offer, but with something preventing him, there was no any other choice than to forget about the offer that had been given to him. I'm sorry, but I cannot change my mind at all. I have already told you that I don't have any intention of renting out this store of mine. So, it is not a matter of the price, but it is my own decision not to rent out this store. The old man shook his head and said, regret in his voice, although not easily detectable. It was a pity that the two ladies in front of him were not normal people. So, they were able to detect the regret that was inside the old man's voice. Denali also understood that the situation was not that simple. After all, she had been observing the old man all this time. From his eyes, she could tell that he really was tempted by the offer, but he was just preventing himself from going ahead and agreeing to it. I can see that there's something else other than the reason that you have given us. But still, why don't you trust us and give us the opportunity of taking this shop from you? I'm going to increase the offer to 170,000 star coins, Denali stated. When she increased the offer, she surprised even Samantha. After all, she had not expected that Denali was going to do something like that. She had been together with Denali for several months now, so she knew that Denali was not an impulsive person. Excitement appeared inside the old man's eyes, but it was just a glint that disappeared in the next moment. Still, he went ahead and shook his head in response. It was clear that he was not willing. Okay then. We are not going to force you to do that. In case you change your mind, you can always look for us. Denali stated as she got to her feet. Since the other party did not seem to be willing to rent the store to them, then, there was nothing else that they could do. Although this place was actually good, that did not imply that she was going to agree to spend all the money that they currently possessed. So, she decided that they were going to look for another place. The old man looked as Denali and Samantha left. He felt that it was a pity that he had lost the chance, but there was nothing that he could do. He could only wave goodbye to a chance of improving his standard of living. Back to Jack, after Samantha and Denali left, he and Celine played for a little longer before he went back to his room. There was something that he still needed to deal with and he had been postponing the matter for a while now. After settling on the bed, Jack called to the system. Angel, what are the requirements for the next system upgrade? That was something that he was looking forward to. Just upgrading his system authority to the second level, other than being able to influence Celine, there was yet the advantages that came over. Now, rather than using the emergency system program to get the skills, he could simply learn the majority of the things that he wanted to know by himself. So, he was wondering if the next upgrade was going to bring him something even better than the one that he had gotten. To upgrade the system authority to the next level, the host would be required to fulfill the following conditions. 1. Dominate a named stronghold, holding the power to decide everything within that particular stronghold as you wish. 2. Start an organization that would be well known within the entire stronghold. 3. The host will have to get married. Jack felt his lips twitching after hearing what he was supposed to do to be able to reach the next level in terms of the system authority. He was wondering why the system was so obsessed with his personal life. During the first system authority upgrade, he was required to have a girlfriend. He on the other hand took a step forward and even got engaged to Celine. He had thought that this was going to be the last time that the system was going to mention a condition like that. But, it seemed that he was wrong in this. Although he could understand the reason for having a girlfriend in the first place because the system was able to affect Celine as well, giving her a great boost. But, what about this one that she was required to become his wife? Was the system going to claim that for the next upgrade, he would have to be with children first? Leaving that aside, Jack focused on the other two conditions. One was for him to be a superpower within the stronghold, and it had to be a named stronghold, something that Jack didn't know about as he had just gotten to the stronghold domain. The other one was for him to start an organization that was going to be well known within the entire stronghold domain. From the way that he could see things, the two conditions were not that far off from each other. Instead, they were aligned to each other. To be able to become a person that could decide on everything within an organization, he would be required to have strength. Although it was true that he could use plots such as kidnappings and blackmail, but that was not absolute control over the entire stronghold. For him to be able to fulfill that condition, he had to depend on his own strength, either personal or indirect. He was not a person that wanted to depend much on others. So, he was willing to use his own personal strength to be able to dominate the entire stronghold. But this time, he was not going to continue wasting much time like he did previously with the first upgrade. So, he was planning to increase his strength. After that, he was going to take over an organization whose reputation was already sky high. That way, he was going to complete the task easily. Just after Jack had thought of this, another system prompt appeared in front of him. The host has to remember that the condition is to start an organization, not to control. That means that the host will have to make sure that he starts everything from scratch before rising to the top. Jack was left speechless for a moment as he didn't know how to react to that. He had thought that just by depending on himself to become stronger, he could just take over an organization, before getting married, completing every condition. But, it seemed that there were no shortcuts when it came to fulfilling the conditions. Whatever, I'll just do things slowly then. But still, with the system, getting resources for development should not be a problem, right? Jack thought to himself and finally decided. Anyway, this was not going to be a difficult task. The first thing that he was intending to do was to of course improve his strength first. Although he was not sure what the named strongholds were, he believed that there was no way that it was going to be something simple as it was a condition from the system. With that out of the way, Jack finally decided to focus on the current matters. That was going to be, trying to make sure that the group that he had come over with was fully equipped. Although he was not sure about the level of the armor blueprint that he had been given by the system was it, he believed that it wasn't going to be that high. Still, he was going to try that after the store that was to be opened was going to bring in some income. He had already began planning on how he was going to get the resources that he was going to use to improve his strength and that of the people around him. I think you should take a look at. After about 3 hours, Samantha and Denali finally returned. They had already found a store, rented it and everything that was within. Although Samantha could not understand the reason why Denali had decided to spend a lot of star coins for the store, a price that was way above the one that they were supposed to pay, she didn't ask. She knew that Denali was way closer to Jack than she was, and perhaps she knew something that she didn't know. Of course, it was not that Denali knew anything, rather, it was just that she knew that before Jack got to the level that he was in currently, he had actually begun from a small store owner. All of this was told to her by Celine. So, she believed that there was a method that Jack possessed that he was going top use to be able to rise up. So, during the time that they had gone out, she had made sure to make it a priority to acquire a store. That was the reason why she had been offering the prices after some estimations, rather than just entering the store to calculate everything. Additionally, she had targeted the stores that were located in a good place, where business could flourish. She herself possessed the business management skill that she had received during the first time that she had met with Jack. So, her judgment when it came to business was not affected even after she came to the stronghold domain. Jack decided that he was going to let Samantha and Denali to take care of the business after signing the leasing agreement that they had brought over. He on the other hand was going to deal with the matter of getting the materials that were required for the armor. As for Samantha, she had to organize for the cars that they had left in the mercenary land to be brought over. Devon's stronghold. Ruth had just come back home after she had completed making arrangements on a plan that she was going to initiate. When she got into the room, she found the distressed Alicia. The girl was seated on a couch, completely lost in her thoughts that she did not even realize that her mother had arrived. Ruth couldn't help but sigh a little when she saw how her daughter was. She had never liked this side of Alicia. Alicia was a cheerful girl ever since childhood. But, after she reached her teenage years, she suddenly became cold, her personality shifting completely. "Hey, what's up with you?" Ruth asked as she sat next to Alicia. But, even after waiting for a while, Alicia did not respond to the question. It was as if she had not even heard that question at all. Ruth sighed once again before she went ahead and shook Alicia. Only then did Alicia react. Being brought back from her reverie, she was surprised to see her mother looking at her. She wondered how she had not noticed when her mother came over. Nevertheless, she forgot about that and decided to go back to thinking of her next steps. Ruth frowned when she saw this. She asked again, "What's up with you?" "Huh?" Alicia frowned at the question, not understanding what her mother was trying to know about. But, that was just momentarily before she realized what it was that her mother wanted to know. She couldn't help but snort. "Of course you already know the reason." After hearing the response, Ruth was not angry at the rude answer that she had gotten from Alicia. This was within her expectations as she already knew about what had happened at the entrance of the Devon stronghold. With the current connections and authority that she possessed within the Devon stronghold, how could she not know about what her daughter was doing just at the entrance of the stronghold? It was just that, she was not happy about the situation that her daughter was in. She wanted to at least let her daughter share the worries that were in her heart with her. You don't have to worry about you getting married to Derek. That is not something that I'm not going to agree to even if it is your father that wants that to happen. You don't have to worry about you getting married to Derek. That is not something that I'm not going to agree to even if it is your father that wants that to happen, Ruth stated calmly. Alicia, who had not been expecting something like this, was surprised by what her mother had said. After all, according to what she understood about her mother, it was that she usually valued the benefits of the family more than she valued her. So, since you already knew about Derek, she was expecting that her mother was already plotting on how the two of them were going to get married. That was something that had been bothering her until now. In order to be able to get out of this situation, she could only think of one solution. And that was, to get together with Jack. Jack was a person that she loved, and she believed that his family background was not weak if compared to hers. Moreover, it might even be stronger than her own family. She believed that as long as Jack agreed to marry her, there was no chance that her mother was going to disagree to that. After all, other than the fact that the background of that Jack possessed was not something that they would be willing to provoke, that the benefits that would come with getting into an alliance with such a family could not be estimated. But, surprisingly, her mother had said that she was not going to get married to Derek. That was one of the least expected words that she was expecting from her mother. At least, from her father, she could at least believe him. But, right now, it seemed that her mother had made a decision that she was not going to get married to Derek, even if it was her father's decision. Ruth looked at Alicia, who was looking at her with surprising her eyes. In the end, she could only shake her head. After all, she could guess what her daughter was thinking about. Am I that cruel in your eyes? Ruth could not help it but ask. Alicia blinked her eyes twice as she looked at her mother. She was wondering what had changed about her mother. Then, looking at her mother's curious gaze, she still went ahead and responded. What do you think? You are always forcing me to get married to a person that I don't like at all. How is that going to help me in the future? Although it is going to help the family, but it is not as if this is the only way that we can help our family to grow stronger than it is currently, Alicia stated. Not giving her mother a chance to speak, she continued, not only that, but there is still time. I'm just 21 years old this year. 2 years should not be that much for us to be able to get information about Jack. As for getting together with him, that is not going to be difficult for me. I do believe that I do have the capabilities of making him agree to marry me. Ruth looked at her daughter silently, waiting for her to continue what she was saying. She knew that what her daughter had said was true, but there was only one thing that Alicia didn't think much about. She was only thinking about the present, and not tomorrow. As for that David, I don't want to say that he is a bad person because I don't even know him that well enough to judge him. But he just doesn't give me a good vibe. So, there is no way that I'm going to get married to him, and neither am I getting married to Derek, Alicia stated resolutely. If I cannot get married to Jack, then I better not get married. But if worse comes to worst, I can marry another person, but it has to be different from the two. Alicia finally made her compromise. It was also at this moment that she thought about Jack, and knew how difficult it was to get together with him. Although she had spoken with confidence that she was going to be capable of making Jack fall in love with her, but she didn't even know where he currently was. It was true that she had already made a decision. But how many people had gotten their hearts broken in a one-sided love? There were too many of them to be counted. And currently, the relationship that she shared with Jack was not that good. Jack did not like what she had done to Celine during the time that she was in the normal world. I get it. But I can agree to you not getting married to Derek. I do care about you, and I do know that Derek is not someone that is going to treat you well after the two of you get married. He is not only after your body, but he is also after the influence of our family, Ruth stated. You are the only heir in this family. That implies that, once he marries you, he will be having some kind of control within this family. So, that is what he is targeting. I'm not ready to have someone who is going to ruin my family. Ruth continued with a cruel glint flashing in her eyes. That's right. I had almost forgotten that whatever it is that you do, it is always about the family. Even if you are trying to prevent me from getting to Derek, that is simply because he has his own motives about our own family. I should not have expected more than that, Alicia stated. After that, With a pissed expression on her face, she left the room, not giving her mother a chance of speaking. Ruth looked on helplessly as her daughter left. What was she supposed to say? This was just a coincidence. Although it might be true that she really cared about the family, that did not imply that she did not care about her daughter. She was her only child after all. It was not as if she had never considered Alicia and Derek getting married. It was just that, after doing her investigation about Derek, she came to realize his behavior of going to small strongholds to pick up girls. For that reason, she immediately eliminated him. As for how she came to know about his aims, that was true his father. Derek's father was an ambitious person, always trying to seek for methods that he was going to use to gain even more strength than he currently possessed. And he was the one who had been training Derek all this while. So, how were the two of them going to be different? And even if Derek was not as she had thought, there was still his father. After Derek took over after his father, and then got married to Alicia, wouldn't that guy try to stir trouble from behind? He could simply inform Derek on what he was supposed to do so that their family could get stronger. I guess I had to do things faster. I have already sent someone out, but I don't know when I'm going to get the information about his location. It is going to be good if I meet him personally, rather than making guesses about things that we don't even know about. Ruth thought as she continued sitting on the couch. Because of the presence of Derek, she had already received the information about Jack coming into the stronghold domain. So, she had decided that she was going to investigate on where Jack had headed to. That was not going to be a difficult problem for her to be able to find out, as long as Jack did not prevent the leaking of the information. Currently, the plan that she was having in her mind was that, after she found about where Jack was, she was going to speak to him personally. The first thing that she wanted to do was to compensate him for what Alicia had done during the time that she had gone over to the normal world. And after making sure that Jack no longer hated her daughter, she was going to make arrangements for the two of them to continue interacting. And if the interaction between the two of them bore fruits, it was not going to be difficult for Alicia to get married to Jack. The only problem was that, she was not sure about Jack's character. So far, from the information that she had received from James, Alicia's protector, it was that Jack was a loyal person, and he did not hit on girls like Derek did. Rather, he was a person who got angry the moment that he realized that Alicia had manipulated Celine. It was true that a gap had already appeared in the love between the two of them, but, from the resolution that was in Jack's eyes during the time that he wanted to destroy Alicia, it was clear that his love for Celine was not something that could be easily taken care of. If this plan doesn't work out, I can only try to look for information about his background. After that, I will make some arrangements so that I can meet with his parents. After that, it should not be difficult to ask for me to be able to separate Jack and Celine, considering that the two of them do not match each other. Ruth had already made counter plans in case one plan failed. Of course, what she did not know was that, currently, Celine had already become a superhuman. And, just like Alicia, she also possessed a special ability. So, if the two of them were compared, then, Alicia was going to fall short. Stronghold number 17, Daniel had been waiting for the entire day, but until now, nobody had showed up. He was getting a little frustrated because he did not have the intention to wait for the entire day. It was also at this point that he started complaining about the lack of a method of communication between them. Normally, as long as he completed the mission, he would always come to this villa, and he would find that guy waiting for him. But this was the first time that he had stayed inside this villa, while the person that gave him the missions didn't show up. This was an abnormality that Daniel did not know how to handle. Had the mission been simple, then, he would not have troubled himself coming over just to look for the person that had given the mission. In fact, even if the person that they were told to investigate was from the stronghold, he really would have gone ahead and investigated, bringing the information that he would have gotten by that timeline that he had been given. But the problem was that, currently, the person that he was supposed to investigate was inside the stronghold. He himself was allowed inside the stronghold, but he was not allowed to wander around just anywhere. He could not go to any organization because he was not considered part of any of them as he had not yet become an ordinary human. Though, he was not that far away from reaching that level. Just as Daniel began contemplating on whether to go back and come back the following day, he suddenly heard movements coming from the entrance of the villa. Then, a man wearing a mask entered. When he saw him, although Daniel was displeased because this guy was only showing up right now, he did not say anything. Rather, he waited for the guy to come in, before stating what had brought him over. But before he could even say anything, the guy with a mask on his face looked at Daniel with confusion in his eyes. He asked, "Is there something wrong? I thought that you were given a mission? Why is it that you are here?" It has already been several hours but you have not left. And now, you are not going to be capable of leaving the stronghold domain. You will have to wait until tomorrow." Daniel on the other hand was almost infuriated by the words of this man. From what he was saying, it was clear that he had already noticed that Daniel had come over. But, rather than coming over to meet him, this guy had been staying idle, doing his own business, completely ignoring Daniel. Did this guy know just how many hours he had wasted for him? Had he come over earlier, he could have already explained the situation of the mission before departing from here. Nevertheless, this person was from the stronghold domain, belonging to an organization. So, Daniel knew that no matter how angry he was definitely not capable of matching this person. Although this person never showed any aggressiveness in front of him, that did not imply that he was easy bully. "There's a problem with the mission that I was given. I would like to meet her again," Daniel stated after managing to calm down the volcano of anger that was boiling in his heart. The man frowned at that. Since the upper half of his face was revealed, the frown on his face was obviously revealed to Daniel. "Are you trying to tell me that you don't know that the person that I was told to look for information about has already entered the stronghold? If the person is inside the stronghold, how am I supposed to investigate him?" Daniel asked with a frown. Of course, he did not believe that this guy did not know about the presence of Jack and his group inside the stronghold. Otherwise, how was it possible that he had noticed that he had entered the stronghold, when he did not notice Jack? The guy with the mask on his face got confused once again. Of course, he had not been informed about what kind of mission Daniel had been given. That was just how cautious Sylvia was. Although she trusted this guy, she did not reveal to him what she was intending to do. So, although whatever Daniel was saying made logic, the guy did not understand at all. Looking for someone? That was the mission? Even if he knew that Daniel had been tasked with the mission of looking for information about a person, how was he supposed to know the person himself? Although he was curious about this person that Daniel was talking about, since Sylvia had not informed him of anything, he decided not to care much about the matter. So, he looked at Daniel and said calmly, "Wait a little bit more. I will inform her of what you are saying." Immediately after that, using the communication device that he was wearing on his wrist, he contacted Sylvia. Of course, this was a private contact that he was making, using another communication device that Sylvia did not use it majorly. Not long after he had passed the information that he had been informed by Daniel, a notification sound could be heard from his communication device. Looking at the message that he had received, he could not help but feel his brows twitch a little. He looked at Daniel and informed him. "She has stated that there's no need for you to continue looking for information about that person. You can retreat and do what you want. As for the reward that she stated, you can bring your group over inside the stronghold. But, you are only allowed to stay in here for a single month." Although he could not understand the reason why Sylvia had decided to bring this group inside, but he was not against it. He himself had already experienced how this group was. So, he knew that in that group, there were a few people that possess great potential. If they were really nurtured, they were bound to be stronger warriors. It was a pity that until now, they had continuously been working as mercenaries, and they had not been provided with any important resource that could enable them to become ordinary humans. Daniel was a little surprised after hearing what the guy had said. Of course, it was not about the cancellation of the mission, considering that the person that they were looking for was actually present within the stronghold. But what he had not expected was the reward that had been given to him. That was something that he was supposed to receive only after he had completed the mission. But, in the end, he had actually been given even though the mission was not completed. Anyway, he was not going to complain about this. Rather, he was happy about it. Being capable of entering the stronghold was something that many people were looking forward to. There were thousands of mercenaries that were always camping outside of the entrance of the stronghold. All that they dreamed about was to be able to enter the stronghold. But there were some of them that had already spent several years waiting outside the entrance of the stronghold, but they had never managed to enter. But this time, he had been given an opportunity not only to enter, but to stay within. If it was just a matter of entering the stronghold, that was not something that he was going to get excited about. During the past 3 years, he had already been entering the stronghold several times during the time that he was receiving the mission, and after the completion of the missions that he had been given. So, what he knew was that, although it was just for a single month, it was enough for him and his group to be able to acquire something that was going to boost their strength. And with that, they were going to be able to continue their domination over the other groups of mercenaries. Daniel left immediately after that. He had already spent a few hours inside here, and he was sure that his sister was anxious by now. And knowing her, She might actually be a little reckless and charge into the stronghold through the entrance, something that was an impossibility for her. If she tried something like that, she was just going to be killed the moment that she attempted. And true to what he had been thinking about, the moment that he got out of the entrance of the stronghold, he found that his sister was actually there. And the rest of the group was also there with her. It was just that they were trying to prevent her from going ahead with the plan that she was having in her mind. What is going on? Daniel could not help but ask as he approached them. Although he had already thought about what his sister might do, he really did not expect her to do that. When the group heard his voice, they were surprised. They looked at him blankly for a moment, before Ivy suddenly got out of their grasp and jumped into her brother's embrace. "Brother, you are okay," Ivy stated. The current expression on her face was a complete opposite of what was on her face during the time that she was struggling to free herself from the group that was holding her down. Initially, after Daniel had left, the group went back to the residence that they had already acquired inside the city that was located outside of the stronghold. That was where they spent most of their time, and if Daniel had gone to present the mission results or to acquire a new mission, they would always wait for him there. But today, they had waited for him for 3 hours, but Daniel did not show up. Moreover, he did not send any information about the reason why he was not coming back, although he had already spent a few hours there. This immediately made the group worried. So, Ivy stated that they would go ahead and wait for Daniel outside of the entrance of the stronghold. The group of mercenaries did not find anything wrong about what she had said. After all, even they themselves were worried about Daniel. They came over, and another 2 hours went past, but there were no signs of Daniel. This made Ivy agitated. She thought that perhaps because Daniel went ahead to complain about the mission that they have been given, they had decided to capture him and lock him away, or perhaps even kill him. Just thinking of that, her blood began boiling. In her entire life, currently, her brother was the only person that she had, and she depended much on him, though she did not show. If anything happened to him, she was definitely going to get crazy about it. She had already heard stories about the people that came from the stronghold. According to the rumors that had been heard so far, she came to a realization that the people from the stronghold were cruel. Well, that implied that if her brother really went ahead and pissed someone within the stronghold, then they would definitely not hesitate to kill him, or perhaps even cripple him. After waiting again, and seeing that the night was about to descend, Ivy's patience finally waned off. She was just about to charge forward, force her way inside the stronghold, but the group of mercenaries reacted. They held her back, asking her what she was doing, and after she responded about what she was planning, they even made sure to increase the strength that they were using to hold her. In that way, they were going to make sure that there were no longer going to be any chances of Ivy rushing over to the entrance of the stronghold. Just as they were struggling to keep Ivy in place without hurting her, they suddenly heard this voice of a person, clearly directed towards them. What is going on? They heard the voice that was so familiar to them. So far, nobody had been paying attention to what was happening at the entrance of the stronghold. So, they did not detect as this person approached them. Although there were more than 20 of them, all of them were concerned about Ivy. She was their captain's sister after all. If anything happened to her, then they were the ones that were going to be blamed for this. So, no matter what, they could not allow anything to happen to her. When they realized the person that had arrived, they were surprised. But, due to this moment of their surprise, Ivy managed to escape their grasp, and rushed to her brother. "Brother, you are okay," Ivy stated. The current expression on her face was a complete opposite of what was on her face during the time that she was struggling to free herself from the group that was holding her down. Daniel looked at his sister, feeling a little helpless. Just looking at the expressions of the group, he could guess what was the reason for holding her down. "You were trying to cause trouble again, right?" Daniel asked as he pushed Ivy back by her shoulders to look at her directly. "What trouble are you talking about? You had disappeared for more than 5 hours. According to the group, this has never happened before. So of course, I was worried about you. And since you were not coming out of there, I decided to come over and look for you. But I did not expect that they were going to prevent me from doing so," Ivy stated, obviously still irritated at the group that had held her back. "Ouch!" Ivy yelped in surprise and a little pain after Daniel flicked her forehead. She looked at her brother with grievance in her eyes. She was just about to complain when Daniel spoke. "That is trouble that I was talking about. You know, this is the first time that you have been in the stronghold. So, perhaps you don't know about the stronghold that much, although I already gave you the description." With a grave expression on his face, Daniel continued, Those that are at the entrance of the stronghold might actually be just small guards inside the stronghold. But when it comes to strength and equipment, they can easily deal with us. Just a single one of them is capable of dealing with our entire group. Do you understand how dangerous what you were trying to do was? Additionally, it is a rule here that if there is a person that tries to sneak into the stronghold, that person is going to be killed as long as he or she is found. You, on the other hand, you are not even trying to sneak into the stronghold. Rather, you are actually trying to barge into it. What do you expect? They are going to kill you the moment that you try to do that. You will not even be able to approach the entrance before you're dead. Ivy wanted to retort, but she found that there was nothing that she could say. What her brother had said was actually true. Of course, she knew about the information, it was just that she had gotten too much anxious that she did not even think about the consequences of her actions. Since her brother was still within the stronghold, she was not willing to let him to encounter any problem. He was her only family, someone that she was not willing to lose. So, even if it cost her life, she did not care as long as her brother was okay. But from the looks of it, it seemed like that if she had done that, then she would have ended up dying without any good reason. Her death would have been considered useless. As for how distraught her brother was going to be, she could already imagine. Daniel looked at the expression that was on his sister's face and could not help but stop scolding her. The expression that was on her face was currently pitiful, and he could no longer bring himself to continue blaming her. He knew that the reason why she had been behaving in such a way was simply because she cared about his safety. As for why he had not informed the group that he was going to be late, that was because he did not even know that he was going to wait for that long. Additionally, his current mobile phone was not capable of sending messages outside of the stronghold. There was something that prevented the signal of ordinary cell phones from working. Although his current cell phone was advanced, but when compared to those that were found within the stronghold, it was nothing but ordinary. Next time, can you please at least think about what I'm going to feel if you do something that is going to risk your life? It's not that I am trying to prevent you from doing anything, but you have to think much more about the consequences of your actions. Daniel stated as he looked directly into Ivy's eyes. Ivy lowered her head a little at that as she nodded. But still, it was obvious that she was no longer in a good mood like the one that she possessed when she came into the stronghold domain. It was only at this moment that she finally realized that the stronghold domain was not just a place that they could get stronger. But they might die as well if they took even a single wrong step. So, while inside the stronghold domain, they had to be careful with whatever they did. Don't think much of it, but you know what? You are actually our lucky star. Looking at his sister's mood that had already dropped, Daniel decided to put the matter aside as he revealed the good news that he possessed. Are you sure about that? I think that I'm causing you a lot of trouble, Ivy stated meekly. She had realized that so far, it was always her brother who had been protecting her and solving the issues that she was bringing up. Although this was the reason why she wanted to get stronger, but she had not even gotten to the level that she wanted, when she nearly caused her brother trouble again. What trouble? Because of what you said, and because you spotted the group the previous night, you enabled us to not go out on a mission that was going to be impossible. So, now, after I went inside, the mission was cancelled. And more than that, we were given a reward for that, Daniel said with a smile on his face. This time, it was not just Ivy who reacted. Instead, the entire group looked at Daniel suspiciously, wondering if he was joking. But, knowing who he was, they knew that he was not a person that was going to joke around with something like this. Are you sure about that, brother? What reward is it that we were given? Ivy asked, a little excited. We have been given a chance of staying inside the stronghold for an entire month, Daniel revealed, shocking the entire group, before sending them into waves of cheers and laughter. What was the thing that most of the mercenaries wanted? It was of course to be able to enter the stronghold. So, since they were given a chance, even though it was just for a single month, that was enough to make them feel bliss, and forget a lot of problems that had been troubling them so far. The following day, Jack also decided to go to the store that had been rented by Samantha and Denali. It was not that he had a lot of free time, but he had decided that on the first day, he was going to be there. He had already asked the system the previous night if there was going to be a first income reward, but the system did not give him a positive or negative response. Rather, it informed him to explore it by himself. Although he was feeling a little helpless, Jack had no choice but to go over to the store. And if things went well, and they managed to sell something good, perhaps he might actually go ahead and open another store. But of course, the thing that he wanted the most was to first of all own a store of his own. After that, it would no longer matter if he was going to rent the shop where he was going to sell his products or not. The location of the store that had been rented by Samantha and Denali was not that far from where they were living. So, they took a car, the one that had been brought over by the arrangements that Samantha had made, one that was given to Jack by the system as a reward, and headed there. Since the car was capable of carrying 4 people, nobody was left behind. And after they arrived at the place where the store was, Jack could not help but get a little impressed. "How much did you spend to acquire this store?" Jack could not help but ask after entering the store. Although it was true that there were not that many items present within the store, Jack did not care about that. Instead, what he cared about the most was that the location of the store was not that bad. He believed that as long as the items within the store were good, then it was not going to be a difficult task for the sales of the store to increase. Additionally, he had already thought about the mission that he had been given by the system. Although he was calling it a mission, it was just a requirement for him to be able to upgrade his authority to the 2nd level. He was supposed to start an organization that was going to be well known within the entire Stronghold domain. That was something that Jack was thinking about, starting an organization that mainly dealt with business. If he did something like that, with the system, it was definitely not going to be troublesome for him to be able to be well known within the entire Stronghold domain. It was just that, by getting popular, he was definitely going to attract attention, and not every attention that I was directed towards him had good intentions. So, as he developed the organization that was required by the system, he had to make sure that his strength also increased as well. Otherwise, he might end up losing everything, even his life if he was not careful. We spent $175,500 star coins to be able to acquire this store. The owner of the store was reluctant to rent it, so we had no choice but to spend a lot of money in order to acquire it, Samantha responded. Jack on the other hand did not think much about what Samantha had said. Although he was not sure about the prices of the items within the store, to him, it did not matter about the prices. What mattered to him was that he had acquired a store, a source of his own income. Of course, he knew that he had borrowed the money from Samantha. So, rather than just letting her continue remaining with the same strength that she possessed, since she had decided that she was going to follow him, then, he was going to make sure that she also became stronger. Becoming a superhuman was definitely not out of her reach as long as he was concerned about it. Although he could not utilize the free chances that he had been given by the system to increase her strength, that did not imply that he was not capable of using resources to upgrade her. With the system, the resources could be increased in terms of quality and quantity. So, what Jack really cared the most about was the increase in quality, rather than quantity. That's not bad. It should not be troublesome for us to be able to recover that amount of money in a short time. But of course, that is on a premise that there is going to be customers that are going to come over. Jack nodded his head as he responded. Samantha could not help but look at Jack blankly. According to the normal market price, to be able to acquire this store, the price was not supposed to go higher than 160,000 star coins. But, Jack really thought so low on 10,000 star coins? Perhaps to the people from the big stronghold, this small amount of star coins is nothing to them. Of course, Samantha had not given up on the thought that Jack belonged to a big stronghold. If he was not from the big stronghold, then, how was it possible that he possessed the incredible capabilities that he currently had? Jack did not know what Samantha was thinking about. So, he entered the store, inspecting the products that were inside. There were several pills, serums, and several other equipment that were used inside the stronghold. Even the syringe like the one that he had utilized to inject the serum that he had been given by Maxwell into Celine's body was also present. It seemed that this store did not specialize on anything. After looking at the products inside the store, Jack finally decided to relax while waiting for a customer to arrive. The rest of the girls also found a place and waited. While waiting, Jack thought about something. Until now, he had not claimed his first income reward that came from the grocery stores. According to the system, the reward that came with opening a store was a Suzuki GSX-R 1000. But, as they continued to accumulate, the value of the reward was going to be increased in terms of quality. It was just like how he had received the Bugatti Veyron, although he had received the reward from the stores. System, is the reward that was supposed to come from the grocery stores still available? Jack asked a little anxious. He was worried that the system was going to cancel the reward that he had not claimed yet because as of now, he was no longer receiving any first income reward from the companies that came from the normal world. The host does not have to be worried about this. Since the host had not claimed the reward, it is still available. Additionally, the level of the reward is increasing with the increase in the opening of more grocery stores. Until the host claims the first income reward, they will continue being accumulated. Jack could not help but be a little speechless. After all, if the system had informed him that he was going to be capable of accumulating the first income rewards even after the first income rewards of the normal companies had already been cancelled, he would have purchased even more companies. Additionally, he would have also informed Grace to continue expanding the influence of the grocery department to other countries. Not only was he going to dominate Azima, but he was going to dominate the entire continent if possible. It was just that, he did not know about that. He really wished that he could blame the system, but there was nothing that he could do. But still, since there was still the grocery department, Jack decided that he was going to inform Grace to start that plan. He was not sure what kind of reward he was going to receive as of now, but he really was looking forward to the first income reward from their grocery department. The host is not allowed to continue getting involved in the matters concerning the grocery department. Once the host involves himself in that matter, there will no longer be an increase in the first income reward of the grocery department. The moment that the host informs his subordinate to make a move, then, the first income reward from the grocery department is going to give retrieved at this moment. The circumstances surrounding the grocery department are unexpected, and it is expected of the host not to get involved and let the matter proceed as it should. Jack was once again left speechless. What the heck was wrong with the system? It was now preventing him from informing Grace that she was supposed to improve and purchase even more grocery stores? Wasn't this too much from the system? Jack really wanted to complain, but knowing that the system was not going to make any compromise, he decided not to waste his breath. But at least, the system had already informed him about not claiming the reward at this moment. He would only do that if he had no choice. You have earned 800 star coins. Multiplier applied. You receive 80,000 star coins. First income. As a reward, you gain boosting pill. Jack's mind momentarily went blank. He was wondering to himself. A sale of 800 star coins had already been carried out. Why was it that he did not even realize it? He immediately looked up, only to realize that there was an old man that was exiting the store. As for the one who had taken care of the customer, it was none other than Celine. Deciding not to dwell on the matter, Jack decided to focus on the reward that he had received. He wondered if he was supposed to claim it, or if he was going to let it continue accumulating. System, can I see the properties of this boosting pill? Jack questioned in his mind. Boosting pill. The pill is capable of increasing a person's strength by 3 levels inconsiderate of the current level that they are in. Jack was surprised. Increasing the level of a person by 3 levels without considering the current level that they were in. How powerful was this pill? Additionally, this was actually the first income reward of just a small store. What was going to happen if he began an organization that dealt with trade? Didn't that mean that he was going to receive a better reward than this? That is not a guarantee. The only reason why the reward for this time has been quite high is simply because the host has gained his first income inside the stronghold domain. So, there was a boost in the quality of the reward that host received. Unlucky for him, the system poured a cold basin of water onto the excitement that had already begun surging within his heart. The excitement that was just about to make him try to look for more stores to open suddenly calmed down a little. Jack thought about the matter carefully. Although it might between that the quality of the boosting pill was high simply because of the increase in the quality of the reward, but he had not given up. It was not as if this was going to be the last first income reward that he was going to receive from the system. There were a lot more chances that he was going to use in order to get rewards from the system. So, even if they might not be at the same level as the boosting pill, he might as well go ahead and accumulate them, only retrieving them after they had been increased in terms of quality. After making a decision, Jack thought about the boosting pill. Who was he supposed to give the pill? Currently, from the information that he had received, he knew that the higher the level of the person, the higher the quality of the resources that they needed in order to develop further. That implied that, the prices of the resources that were going to be required in order to nurture a group of superhumans was definitely going to increase as they increase in terms of their own stages. Currently, he himself was at the second stage of the superhuman level, and, if he really decided to use all the cards that he possessed currently, he was going to be capable of reaching the 8th stage of the superhuman level. It was just that, he thought that it was going to be wasteful if he decided to use the boosting pill right now. He had to save this pill and only use it during the time that there was an emergency, just like the chances that he had saved. Although he really wished to have Denali become a superhuman as well, but it was going to be a waste for him to be using such a miraculous pill on a person who was still at the ordinary human level. For Denali, Samantha, Celine and himself, as long as they managed to get resources, Jack believed that it was going to be easy for them to be able to level up. But of course, there was going to be some adjustments that he was going to make. He was not going to use the low-quality resources that were present within this small stronghold. Rather, he wanted to use the system to increase the quality of the resources before using them. But that plan had to be put on hold for a while now. After Jack finally came to this decision, he realized that Celine was standing in front of him. She was looking at him a little worried. She could not help but ask after realizing that he was looking at her, "Are you okay, Jack? You seem lost. Is there anything in your mind and do you mind sharing?" Looking at the caring expression that was on Celine's face, Jack realized that this time, it seemed that he had actually not paid much attention to the surroundings. Since it had been a while since he had interacted with the system in public, he had done something that he had always done during the time that he was alone. But to say the truth, he was excited that Celine really cared about him. Of course, although he believed that she cared about him, it was completely different if she showed it directly to him. "There's no need for you to worry. I'm okay. It's just that I was thinking of something. But I'll let you know later on," Jack responded with a smile on his face. Celine was relieved after seeing that Jack was okay. But still, she thought that there was something that he was hiding. But, since he had said that he was going to let her know about what he was thinking about later on, then, she decided to wait. And just like that, the group spent the entire day chatting with each other as they attended to the customers. It was just that, the number of customers was not that high. Moreover, even the quality of the items that were present inside the store was not that much attractive to the high-level members of the stronghold. So far, Jack and his group had only attended to 7 people, and both of them were at 3rd or 4th star of the ordinary human level. When evening came, Jack decided that they had to close the store. Although they had taken lunch inside here, something that was purchased from a small restaurant not far away from where they were, but still, he preferred home-cooked food. Additionally, it is not as if they had to run the store 24/7. Unlike the other stores, although the customers that have come over into the store was quite low, but the income that he had received for this day was quite high. So, despite the fact that Denali wanted to continue running the store, Jack decided against it. It might be true that with Denali's current strength, she was capable of staying up the entire night, but that was not his motive of coming into the stronghold. They didn't come here to suffer, rather, other than looking for the information about his mother's whereabouts, they had to make sure that they enjoyed their own lives. Since it was the decision that Jack had made, with 100% loyalty that she possessed towards Jack, Denali did not object what Jack had decided on. So, the group of 4 left the store, going back to the building that they had purchased recently. Immediately after Jack's group left, a man wearing a mask that was covering half of his face came from an outdoor bar not far away from the location of the store. He looked in the direction that Jack and his group had left in, before he turned around and headed in the opposite direction after boarding a vehicle. He was heading towards the center of the territory, the area where the big organizations were located, and not long after, he finally arrived in front of the Panthers organization. But instead of going through the front, he went through another method that was only known by him and a few others to enter the Panthers organization. After a few turns, the man finally arrived in front of a mansion. The mansion was quite majestic, unlike those that were in the surrounding areas. And just like he did when he was entering the Panthers organization territory, he did not go through the front door. Rather, he went into a bush that was not far away, then jumped into it. It turned out that inside the bush, there was actually a secret entrance. But of course, it was protected by high level of technology. It only opened after the guy with the black mask placed his hand on the ground for 5 seconds or so. The moment that the opening opened, the man who was standing inside the bush suddenly fell. He did not panic. Rather, he seemed to have already gotten used to this. Thud. A few seconds later, he landed onto the ground heavily, but, with his current abilities, this kind of fall did not affect him. So, he looked around. He had landed inside a basement. Not thinking much about it, the man took a few steps ahead, climbed the stairs that led towards the ground floor. And after arriving at the ground floor, he went towards another direction where there was yet another room through the magnificent walls. When he arrived in front of the room, he knocked twice. "Come in." A detached and emotionless voice came from within the room, and after hearing the voice, the man felt his body shivering a little, but still, he pushed the door open. Unlike the advanced doors that require the passcode in order to enter, this was just like the normal doors that were found inside the normal world. After opening the door, he entered into something like a study room. And currently, there was a lady with wavy blue hair who was looking at him with a nonchalant expression on her face. "What did you find out?" the lady asked the moment that the man stepped into the room. After giving a slight bow, the man responded respectfully, "I have been following them the entire day. But, they have not done anything else other than just running a store. It doesn't seem like they are going to do anything soon."